Todos. Yo soy Wouter, soy el jefe de la Biblioteca Hernán Santa Cruz de CEPAL, Naciones Unidas, acá en Santiago, en Chile. Y obviamente es un gran gusto estar con ustedes y hablar un poquito sobre RDA y sus actividades y lo que pueda hacer acá en América Latina y el Caribe. Y lo que nosotros podemos hacer con RDA acá en la región.
Y yo soy Inma Subirats, trabajo en la FAO, aquí en Roma. Soy la coordinadora juntamente con otra de las personas que participan activamente en IGAD aquí en esta sesión, que es Valeria Pesce. IGAD hace referencia al mundo de los datos agrícolas y es una comunidad de prácticas que se aprobó recientemente en el contexto de RDA. El nombre de la sesión es genérico, es RDA como comunidad, como fórum, pero obviamente la sesión también va muy dirigida a aquellos que estén dedicados a los datos agrícolas y la connotación que tiene el hecho de que las ciencias agrícolas son extremadamente multilingües. No se habla solamente inglés, hablamos y se intercambia muchísima información en diferentes lenguas, particularmente el español es una de ellas. Gran referencia. Entonces, un poco lo que queríamos iniciar con esta sesión, un poco de debate para ver cómo podríamos hacer posible que personas que quizá no se sienten cómodas hablando inglés, pero si se sienten cómodas intercambiando conocimientos en español, podrían ser más activamente integradas en comunidades de prácticas como IGAD y en el contexto de RDA. Para ello invitamos a dos personas que, como decía anteriormente, son muy activas en el contexto de Research Data Alliance. Ambas van a presentar dos casos, uno sería el RDA Global, el más global, y Patricia va a presentar el caso del nodo dedicado al Brasil en el contexto de RDA. Introduzco a Yolanda Meleco, quien está en la sesión. Sí, la he perdido por un momento porque el vídeo no estaba activo. Yolanda es la directora de comunicaciones de RDA. En su función se vincula con los equipos y miembros de comunicaciones internacionales para implementar un plan de comunicaciones integrado, centrado en la marca, los mensajes y la divulgación efectiva. Y también trabaja con la comunidad de RDA para establecer prioridades, desarrollar políticas y ejecutar las estrategias de la organización. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí hoy, Yolanda. Thank you so much for coming today. Su presentación será en inglés y está también escrita en inglés. Si hubiera algún problema, que no creo, pero bueno, digamos que si hubiera alguna cosa que queréis o necesitáis tener un poquito más de información, podéis usar el chat y de forma que tanto yo como Wouter podamos clarificar cualquier cosa en español si fuera necesario. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. My name, as Ima has said, is Yolanda Melico. I lead the Global Communications for Research Data Alliance. Rebecca Cascella, she's the Executive Director of RDA US. She will also be joining me during this presentation to talk a little bit more about the regional activities that are taking place in the region of the North Americas and provide some options for you to engage with us as well. A little bit of background about me to supplement what Ima has said. I joined RDA in 2014 during 2 weeks before Plenary 4, which took place in Netherlands, in Amsterdam, Netherlands. So I've been heavily involved over the years in the communications activities, leading the strategy, and just more recently, I've transitioned under Rebecca's leadership and still working, but just not as many hours as I used to in the past. But I'm happy to be here. Thank you for joining me. And I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of what your input is on how we can engage you more into our organization. Ima, do you want to interject at any point? Just interrupt me if you think it's a good time to translate, okay?
Right, no problem.
Okay, thank you. And let me share my slides. Okay. So I know some of you are involved, aware of who RDA is and what we do, but I'm going to, this might be a little bit repetitive, but let me just share for those that aren't as familiar. We are, the RDA is the Research Data Alliance. We are a nonprofit membership organization, and we're a place where researchers, data scientists, professionals from across the globe come together to solve problems. And these problems are solved and brainstormed together in groups, and they collaborate together, and we leverage everyone's experience and expertise to solve these problems, to actually produce deliverables, products, and recommendations that we can use and share with other organizations throughout the world. We were founded in 2013 through funding from the European Union, the Australian government, the United States through the National Science Foundation, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And at this point today, if you look at our website, we are over 12,000 members. I think we're about 12,500 from the other day, representing 147 countries, as you can see mapped out on the slide right here. So there's quite a few from all over the world. We have 97 working and interest groups, which I will address with you in just a few slides. And at this point, we have about 30 national groups. Some are more active than others. I think there is one in Brazil we were just talking about. We have 4 regional groups, which Rebecca will be talking about shortly. So a lot of diversity. In addition to these working and interest groups, we have organizational groups as well. These are our organizational members. Lots of logos, I understand, but might be a little bit hard to grasp all of this, but it's just to give you the context of how many organizations are currently involved in RDA. And these organizations help influence the direction of RDA and help us spread adoption of our recommendations and our products that we produce through our working and interest groups. Everybody okay? Please feel free to ask any questions as I move forward. For the Spanish speaking, I understand this slide may be a bit complicated to grasp, so I'll speak slow and hopefully you'll understand. But this is our working groups. We have our working groups, our interest groups, and more recently the communities of practice, which is what this meeting is being offered. This IGAD event that Ima and Wouter are hosting for us here. Our working groups they develop and implement the tools, policies, and practices. They actually develop our products that are adopted by our organizations and communities. So when these working groups complete their projects, usually within 12 to 18 months, we have a review process of their deliverables, of the products that they've developed, and they are ultimately endorsed by our council, by our organizational members, and our technical advisory board. So we have a very in-depth review and approval process. And once those are approved, they're actually deemed our outputs, our recommendations. And some of those could be our code, they could be tools, they could be standards. And if you look at our website under outputs, you'll see the list of recommendations and outputs that have been produced over the years. Our interest groups are a bit different. Although they sometimes produce outputs, they focus on solving a specific problem and then identifying and brainstorming ways to solve that problem. So it's basically the stage before a working group. So there's a problem, who's interested in solving it with us, what would we need to do it? And then it's no set duration, but the outputs basically could be this problem, we should develop a working group to actually solve it and produce those to produce those recommendations. Let's do something. Let's get together. So then a working group would then spin off from this interest group. And then some of those, they actually produce a supporting output, which would be guidelines or best practices, but sometimes it's just a report that summarizes their findings. Sometimes interest groups don't spin. Maybe there is not enough interest. Maybe there's already something going on in RDA that's similar to that in a working group. So maybe those don't go anywhere, but interest groups are basically a way to just delve into the detail and brainstorm if it's worth pursuing into the next phase. The communities of practice are our new group that came out last year, and IGAD is our first one. So we're very excited about that. These communities of practice are more discipline focused and research domain focused. There's a lot of flexibility still with these communities of practice. So we're exploring opportunities on how to further expand the concept. But basically, these communities of practice are focused on providing an umbrella structure for working in interest groups that are within those discipline at RDA under that, and actually raising awareness of the RDA activities that are going on to that industry, while also at the same time bringing to RDA what is going on in the industry. So it's a mutual sharing of information and expertise in a disciplinary setting. The duration usually is ongoing, but within the process, the results and the activities of the communities of practice are reviewed every 18 months. And sometimes some of those outputs could be just based on the findings and the communication and collaboration that's taking place. Maybe a new working interest group is developed, and the actual bridge building of the communities is what the actual output of those communities of practice are. Emma, is there anything, do you want to translate at any? I know I talked a lot and there's a lot of information there.
Well, no, creo que más o menos todos vosotros sabéis un poquito cómo se estructura RDA. Yolanda lo ha explicado muy detalladamente. Hay estos tres elementos, las comunidades de prácticas, que se está ahora iniciando, y en el caso de IGAD es la primera que se ha aprobado, y esperamos que haya más comunidades de práctica que normalmente son temáticas, están dedicadas a un ámbito particular, e intentan hacer eso, comunidades de práctica donde se trabaje el intercambio de conocimiento, que se cree un poco de red bajo todo lo que sería el paraguas de RDA. Grupos de interés son un poquito menos genéricos, pero más flexibles en el sentido que no tienen ningún tipo de obligación de per se. La comunidad de prácticas sí que tiene un work plan, tiene un plan de trabajo y tiene que mostrar actividad a partir de esos 18 meses que comentaba Yolanda. En el caso de interés, el grupo de interés, cualquiera se puede suscribir y no necesariamente se tiene que se tiene que presentar un resultado. Lo importante es que se cree debate. En el caso de los grupos de trabajo, estos son, digamos, la parte más esencial de RDA. Es la parte que muestra, digamos, las recomendaciones que se generan dentro de RDA, y son las que más o menos se usan para evaluar también el impacto que tiene RDA de una forma nacional o a nivel internacional. Over to you, Yolanda.
Okay. So this slide is, thank you so much for doing that, how you can help RDA. And I know there's some of you that are members, that you're new members. But for those of you that have not joined yet, we encourage you to join RDA. It's free as individual members. You could go to the homepage of our website and just give us your information, agree to our founding principles, and you'll become a member and start receiving communications from RDA. You also can join a group. Sometimes starting with an interest group is a recommended approach. Look for the groups that are ongoing on our website. Some of them are just, you can sort by discipline. You can sort by the age of the group if they're just starting. If they're just starting, sometimes there's lots of opportunities to become engaged. Even if a group is already fully functional 6 months into their activities, there's also opportunities to engage. But but newer groups sometimes have more opportunities for engagement than others. And again, if you're just looking to get interested in just to observe, you can join a group and do nothing and basically just observe those activities and get a feel for what RDA has to offer without really having much of a say or a voice. You don't have to attend every meeting. You don't have, you can if you want to, but it's up to you at your level of engagement. But by joining those groups, you can find others. You can learn, you can meet people, you can find people that have similar interests to you. So once you are in those groups, you have the option to view the members and start engaging one-on-one in your specific domain. And I'll go into this in a little bit further, but the plenaries that we offer every 6 months are an excellent opportunity to just get a feel for the community overall. And we've been doing them virtually since COVID, as you all know. But there is the hybrid event that we're hoping to still do hybrid in South Korea, which I will talk about, and that's taking place in June, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I am going to turn this over to, at this point, to Rebecca Cascella, and she will talk a little bit about the region of the North America at RDA and the activities and that could overlap with what we could do with you as well, your region. So Rebecca, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, please.
Thanks. I'll keep the slide over if you like and just speak.
Okay, great. RDA has different groupings of members. There are 4 regions, and the regions are called the contributing regions, and that would be the US, Europe, France, and Australia. And those are the ones that provide global RDA with money to do their work and also some in-kind support. In addition to the contributing regions, there are other regions which are, for the most part, national, except for the one I'm going to talk about, which is the region of the Americas. So that actually is an old name, Yolanda, sorry about that. The region of the Americas actually goes from Canada all the way to the tip of South America, includes all of Latin America. And I didn't know it, but I've learned that includes the Caribbean also. So in the region of the Americas, Costa Rica has a memorandum of understanding with Global RDA. We also, La Referencia has a memo of understanding with RDA US. So we're working closely with them on joint projects that we both want to move forward. And yesterday I had a meeting with people from Ecuador, and they are also wanting to become a member node of RDA. So we are working on that. Brazil is a national node. And as we go along, we will either welcome people into the region of the Americas, or they can do a national node. But what that means is that we try to do shared webinars so that they can be both in Spanish and English. We're just now working on that to find translators. We have a translator for French for Canada, but we're working on the other. With La Referencia, we have, and Costa Rica, they have translated all of the RDA output cards into Spanish, and those are on the website. And as soon as the new La Referencia website is opened up, you will also find them there. So we are trying to expand the work that we do as RDA with Latin America, South America, and Canada. Is that it? Is that the one slide?
Yeah, I guess, well, there's another, you did good. I think this, we talked about Costa Rica a little bit already.
Right.
Perhaps I can jump in just a second.
Sure.
Hay ya diferentes iniciativas dentro en la región, digamos. Se están creando nodos a nivel nacional y multidisciplinar. No son nodos dedicados a la temática, pero desde un punto de vista multidisciplinar. Por ahora parece ser que Costa Rica ya tiene ha firmado un acuerdo con RDA y la referencia está trabajando para traducir diferentes materiales ya disponibles en el sitio web del RDA en inglés al español, y se están planeando diferentes seminarios web que cubrirán temáticas de interés con sugestiones, digamos, sugerencias de diversas organizaciones en la región. El Ecuador ha pedido ahora recientemente hacer un nodo, supongo que esto lo han podido ya entender, y en cierta forma, digamos que hay una actividad ya bastante importante por parte de RDA Américas, y se está ya intentando crear este vínculo entre la RDA más global y la RDA Américas, incluyendo la América Latina y el Caribe. Over to you, Yolanda.
Gracias. And we also, I wanted to highlight that Costa Rica was our host for the 16th virtual plenary. So that was the first plenary that was hosted by a Latin American country. So that was a very important event that we're very proud of as well. And this is, Rebecca, you just talked a lot about these points. So, maybe you can talk a little bit about, we can brainstorm a bit more about joining it, making a national group, joining other national nodes, and think how that would be involved. But I think Rebecca did a great job of detailing all these activities. So basically, if you were to join RDA as a national group, a node, as an individual member, an organizational member, you will have a voice inside RDA, and you'll be able to build alliances with us, share resources, benefit from our infrastructure and our networks, and help bridge our organization with the Latin American networks in common topics of interest for both you and for us. So we really look forward to working more with you in the upcoming months and future. We have, this is just some highlights about our plenaries. As you can see from the very first one in Sweden up until plenary 18, which was a virtual event, these have been our hosts and local locations, the locations of the face-to-face events before COVID. And then our upcoming plenary, as I mentioned earlier, will be in South Korea in June. This is a hybrid event, which will be part of International Data Week with the theme Data to Improve Our World. You might have seen some of our call for sessions that's over. So we should be sending out session notifications in our program of all the different breakouts that will be occurring during this event will be taking place in the upcoming weeks. So look out for that communication. If you are a member, you'll be seeing that. You are also encouraged to participate. It is a hybrid event, and there will be a virtual component. So the sessions will be offered remotely. And you're also, if you're interested in participating in the poster session, that is still an opportunity. We have our call for posters that are taking place. So check out our website and provide as much information as you'd like. It's an abstract, and there's a review process, but we generally accept most of our posters. So we encourage you to engage that way. If that's not an option, just attend and just observe our community as a whole, and you'll get the familiarity of how we work. So it would be a really good experience for you just to participate at that level. We also have our next International Data Week is actually in 2023. Hopefully that will be in person, but we will of course offer a remote component to that as well. Will be in Austria. And then some other events that are happening soon is this webinar, how to get attention for research project outputs. So that is geared for our working and interest groups and our chairs on how basically to market and promote their outputs. It's Jennifer Gibson did an excellent job. I think it was in September, October on part 1. And it's for anyone that has a product or a service. A lot of the elements that Jennifer addresses during her webinars can be applied to those. It's not just RDA specific. So her recommendations can be used for outside of RDA as well. So this might be another good opportunity to learn a little bit about RDA and help you with what your activities and work and how to build awareness of them in your communities. And this is another webinar that's taking place in April, highlighting some of our newer outputs, and this is the tools and resources for data usage metrics. So this is something else another event that we will be to learn about the actual work and the activities taking place in a working group. So at this point, Ima and Wouter and I and the group, the organizers, want to get your thoughts, and I'll turn this over to Ima so you can facilitate better, but I think we want to hear from you on how can we better facilitate engagement with you, the Latin American and Caribbean regions? What activities, what can we offer more to you that would help you engage? What don't you have now? How can we help you? So Ima, I ask you to maybe facilitate, and I can help as much as.
Right, absolutely. Me and Wouter, we are going to do that. Perhaps may I suggest to keep these slides and to come back to the slide after Patricia's presentation?
Absolutely.
Because now I'm going to give the mic to Wouter, but Patricia is going to show a specific case about these notes. Wouter, over to you.
Sí, muchas gracias, Ima, y muchas gracias por la presentación. Vamos a nuestro segundo panelista, que es Patricia Bertín, gerente de información y información científica de la empresa brasileña de investigación agropecuaria, Embrapa, y copresidenta del Grupo Nacional RDA Brasil. Ahí, Patricia, adelante, por favor.
Hi, thanks, Walter. Can you confirm that you are seeing these slides now?
Sí, si lo puedes poner, can you put it in full screen, please? Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. Well, I was invited to share with you a few words about the work that we have been doing in Brazil on the creation and implementation of the RDA national group. I would like to, of course, first thank the IGAD co-chairs for inviting me today to share our work with you. Well, I think it's relevant to start by sharing this graph with you, which presents the geographic distribution of RDA. We are going to see that the South America continent makes up only 4% of the total RDA members. Well, it is the least represented continent in RDA. Now, if RDA is really a global initiative, the question is, how can we improve this number? How to engage more people from the Latin American region? Well, I believe it's now clear for you all guys that there are different ways to join and contribute to RDA. You can, of course, look for a certain scientific discipline or research domain. This seminar, for example, is part of the activities of the IGAD community of practice, which, of course, is a domain-oriented group working on agriculture and nutrition data issues. But I think that maybe the key to involve more Latin Americans in RDA is through the regional groups. Yolanda has already explained what a regional group is, but it can be a national group or it can be a consortium of national level entities like RDA Americas, for example. What are the benefits? Well, this regional composition of RDA creates an international forum which supports the vision of RDA, its mission, its principles at the regional level. And this forum legitimizes and strengthens RDA recommendations and outputs. On one hand, the regions can contribute to RDA's work through participating in its activities like plenaries, working in interest groups, as already said, but they can also contribute to the RDA business through in-kind support, make a monetary contribution, hosting a plenary, etc. And the regions, they foster a diverse data community by engaging stakeholders within the region. There is a classification of the regional RDA. Well, there are 4 different categories, and depending on the level of participation in RDA, so you go from interest region to partner region, where this last one has a partnership agreement, a formal agreement with the RDA Foundation, and makes the partner region makes financial or in-kind contributions as well to RDA. Well, at this point, I think I can go directly to introduce RDA Brazil to you as an engaged region. So this means that we are basically a national group using the RDA web space and platform, and with no memorandum of understanding or partnership agreement in place, okay? The RDA Brazil was launched in February 2019 as an initiative of Embrapa, which is the organization I work for, the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation, the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, which is a research and development organization dedicated to public health in Brazil, and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation as well. Well, here I think we have an important aspect to highlight. It was in the context of the 4th Open Government National Action Plan that RDA Brazil was born. Embrapa was the coordinator of a national commitment towards open science in this action plan, which ran from 2018 to 2020. And this national commitment focused on improving research data governance for the advancement of open science in Brazil. And we needed to identify and consolidate the research data community in Brazil. And the idea of starting an RDA node made a lot of sense at the time, because we realized that the community is composed of just a few people. The research data community in Brazil is not huge. And the same people were interacting in different ways through different networks like, RDA, but also GoFair International and the Open Government Partnership as well. So the RDA Brazil was born from, let's say, like a marriage between the Open Government Initiative and the Research Data Alliance Initiative. Today we have about 95 members, and we have discussed these, how can I say, the convergence with the Go Fair initiative. And we have discussed possible lines of collaboration. We have also organized national plenaries, which are basically virtual workshops with members of the national group. This took place in March 2021 and January this year. But so far, these plenaries have served to exchange information after the global RDA plenaries, and basically to discuss issues that are very preliminary, such as how to participate in RDA, what groups there are. And so I would say that the community is still maturing to become a more active research data community. Well, looking at the RDA Brazil webpage, you're gonna find many posts and discussions about specific data issues, events, research calls, technology questions, surveys, etc. And you're gonna notice that everything is in Portuguese. This is something that I think is very special to break the language barrier that we need, that we know that exists with Latin Americans. We have developed a governance plan for RDA Brazil, which defines the mission, the vision, objectives, principles, and operating mode of the group. And we have also developed outreach activities such as conference talks, posters, and other communication activities. There is also, there is also an action plan for Brazil, for RDA Brazil, which sets the main activities we aim to implement, to develop. Well, we would like to attract the national group, through the national group, any Brazilians who are part of the RDA groups, because we know there are many Brazilians already participating in the several RDA groups. We would like to provide visibility to the efforts that Brazil are taking through the dissemination of its work, its activities. We aim to promote webinars to debate research data issues. We want to test and validate RDA recommendations and best practices for open sharing and reuse of data. Contribute to the formation of a multidisciplinary and interinstitutional network on data, on research data, to discuss issues that are relevant to the Brazilian community. We aim to establish a partnership with RDA Portugal and translate contents and institutional material from RDA into Brazilian and Portuguese. Well, then, what are the challenges? And this is my last slide already. Well, we need to engage more people in RDA Brazil, and we need to promote active participation of them. We noticed that the people that approach the RDA national group, they like to watch. They watch the discussions. They sometimes participate in some discussion in the website, but we feel that they don't actively participate as much as well in RDA. So there are many members of the RDA Brazil that are not part of other RDA groups. They are not part of interest or working groups or the community of practice, for example. And then it comes the question once again, is this a language barrier? What can we do to overcome it? Maybe could RDA have different languages speaking groups? Could we have Spanish-speaking working groups and interest groups in RDA? I think this could be interesting because translating material is important. Of course, it's important, but people would like to really join the discussion and discuss the questions that are posed now for global research data management and so. We do need to discuss other forms of participation in RDA. Well, we realize there is this need of convergence with other research data networks, like the Gold Fair, for example, precisely because we are few people, the same people working in different networks. Also, we feel that since participation is individual, sometimes we don't get the institutions to engage with the main issues that we discuss at RDA. So it's like we have the Ministry of Science participating as a co-chair, as one of the co-chairs of this RDA national group, but we don't see many policies coming out from the Ministry of Science in support of research data management or open science or stuff like that. So we would like to approach the institutions a bit more. We think this is very important. And also we need an improved understanding of the Brazilian research data issues. What the panorama is, we know that is very heterogeneous. Different universities, research institutes, industry, they have different issues with research data management, but we don't quite know yet what is there that we need to prioritize in our discussion. So yeah, this is what I brought to share with you today. It's early days for RDA Brazil. As I said, we were created in 2019. It could look like a huge amount of time, but it was not. And we are learning how to better contribute to RDA and how to benefit from RDA the most that we can. That's it. I pass it back to you, Ima or Walter.
Muchas gracias, Patricia. Yo creo que con eso podemos ver si hay algunas preguntas. Algunos comentarios que quieren hacer. Somos un grupo pequeño, entonces si quieren levantar la mano no hay problema. Y pueden hablar obviamente en español, en portugués o inglés. ¿Quién quiere hacer una pregunta?
Quizá comience yo con una pregunta para Yolanda.
Vale.
De hecho, Yolanda puso una pregunta en su diapositiva. Yolanda, could you put back or just remind us about the question that you put in your slides that perhaps?
Yes, so basically we're just, I'm recommending that we brainstorm how we can better facilitate engagement with the Latin American and Caribbean communities. So is there certain activities, is there certain actions that we can take to help you? And I think Patricia talked about this a little bit in her presentation, where translation to maybe activities to address the language barriers might be something to focus on. Or is there certain aspects of the website that attendees would be more interested in seeing in multiple languages? The majority is in English right now, we understand, but to translate that whole site might be difficult, but maybe we can identify areas that would be more helpful than others. I mean, the social media is something that we're very active on, but that, again, that's in English. Is there is there opportunities where people would be interested in seeing more translations on social media as well? So, and this is just me brainstorming as I was thinking about what would be the most helpful to this community.
Quizá sería mejor traducir, es decir, Yolanda nos está preguntando qué es lo que podría hacer RDA mejor para asegurar una presencia activa o pasiva, tanto es indiferente a este punto, pero que haya más información sobre lo que RDA hace y lo que RDA, las recomendaciones de RDA, etc. ¿Qué sugerencias tendrían? Por ejemplo, ir más por traducir ciertas áreas del sitio web de RDA, o quizá ir por lo que yo he encontrado muy interesante que ha dicho Patricia, que es que en algunos casos la traducción es insuficiente, porque los investigadores lo que quieren es tener parte activa, e igual se encuentran que la expresión que pueden usar en una lengua como el inglés, entonces no es la misma que cuando pueden debatir algo en español. No sé si podéis poner también la webcam, podéis sacaros los micrófonos, podemos tener aquí una conversación bastante informal. Sí.
There are 2 questions in the chat.
Yes, yes. Probably this is, I will translate for Rebecca, but also for you, Yolanda, but Rebecca put it on the table. So there are 2 people that are asking, so what kind of pathway needs to be followed for a country to be recognized as node? And they are asking specifically for the case of Mexico and Colombia.
Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
So right now, I believe Mexico is part of a member of La Referencia. So that's one way in. The other one is I would be happy to set up a meeting and explain what we did with Costa Rica and what we will be doing with the name of the organization in Ecuador is CEDIA. It represents many of the universities in Ecuador, but I will put my email in the chat, and if you will contact me, we can either have a meeting for any country interested in one, or I can set up individual ones, because each pathway seems to be different. But I would be happy to talk to anybody who wants to find out how to become part, either a nation node or part of the region of Americas. Both are definitely possible.
Ok, Oscar y Rigoberto, podéis escribir directamente a Rebeca, pondrá la email en el chat. En cualquier caso, se necesita un apoyo institucional para iniciar un nodo. De modo que eso es quizá lo primero a tener en cuenta, pero en cualquier caso, Rebeca acaba de decir que hay diferentes tipos de procedimientos que se pueden customizar, digamos, en caso de necesidades específicas a nivel de país. Wouter,
Yo tengo una pregunta. Nosotros, en el contexto del proyecto LEARN, financiado por la Comisión Europea hace varios años, hicimos como un análisis de la situación de políticas y estrategia de gestión de datos de investigación en América Latina y también en Europa. Y lo que nosotros vimos ahí es que, no sé si todavía es el caso, yo creo que en muchos países sigue así, pero no estoy seguro, o sea, no me he hecho un análisis ahora. Era que básicamente al nivel nacional, en muchos países de la región hay estrategias hay políticas de gestión de datos de investigación, pero falta a nivel institucional las herramientas para implementar esas estrategias, esas políticas de gestión de datos de investigación. Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo RDA puede ayudar a las instituciones acá en América Latina y el Caribe justamente para implementar, aterrizar, para decirlo así, esas políticas, esa estrategia de gestión de datos de investigación? I'll say it in English. So, in the context of the LEARN project, which was financed by the European Commission a few years ago, we made an analysis of the situation of research data management policies and strategies for research data management in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Europe. So it was basically a dialogue between the two regions. And the conclusion of that analysis, which we haven't done now lately, so we would definitely have to rerun in such a, in a sense, this analysis to check whether this is still the case. But at that time, the situation was that in many countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, on the national level, there are policies on research data management, but the institutions often lack the instruments to implement those policies. And so the question is for RDA, how can RDA help institutions, research institutions in Latin America and the Caribbean to land to in some way implement those strategies, those policies on an institutional level?
And Rebecca, feel free to chime in here, but I think from just joining the groups and learning what RDA is doing with their current recommendations and standards and how we're furthering adoption within organizations in certain regions. There's a strategy that's in place by many of our groups that we apply, and that might be just one way. And when you're involved in RDA, you're bringing on additional partners, collaborators that actually help leverage the influence that you will have within your own regions. So by building support within RDA, you're bringing that back to your local community, and that will help further infrastructure. So I mean, it can be a strategic approach as well as a tactical approach by work that RDA can help you with. And then, I mean, that one webinar that I had talked about that's happening next week, that's something that if you attended that webinar, that would help you learn some techniques. It might give you some recommendations on how you can further that in your local community. Rebecca, do you have any other recommendations?
Yes, actually, when we had it was intended to be in-person plenary in Costa Rica, but it was virtual instead. We had a closed meeting with many of the policymakers in Costa Rica that different people who had already connected with RDA helped identify so that we could present to them what RDA has to offer. So with La Refiencia, they are much more interested in engaging with policymakers in order to make the policies about open science, open data, and access to data, something that is taken up by, that's a top down. But at the same time, in Colombia, we have someone who is very interested. He's a professor at a medical school there, is very much interested in doing webinars, training videos for researchers, and that's the bottom up. So we're more than happy to work with either one, either top down or bottom up, and we can bring together funders and policymakers from different countries so that there's an idea. You mentioned the survey that included Europe, Latin America, and South America, I believe. We can also get policymakers from all those countries, maybe organize a meeting to talk about what they have done and what works and how they're moving forward.
Ok, traduzco un poquito, un poco. En cierto modo, dos opciones son posibles. Una que sería más trabajar a nivel de políticas, y aquí RDA trabajaría también con redes en la región y podría ayudar en ese sentido, pero también se sugiere, por ejemplo, trabajar más el tema que sería más de crear, de trabajar más a nivel de directamente con los investigadores y con los que tendrían que realizar la investigación, también como manera de impulsar, digamos, una implementación satisfactoria para una organización, por ejemplo, que esté trabajando en la implementación de estrategias para los datos de investigación. Rebecca, there is a question, I'm not sure about you or Yolanda, but somebody is asking whether it's restrictive to public sector, or we could also include in these notes at regional level, national level, private sector.
Definitely, it's open to everybody. So it can be either private or public. In the US, we are trying to get private companies to become organizational members, and we haven't had, other than publishers, we haven't had much luck. But I know in Europe, they've had better luck getting private sectors involved.
Creo que Alfredo seguramente ya has podido escuchar bien la pregunta también en inglés, pero contestarte que ambas pueden participar y pueden crear un nodo, tanto pública como privada. Ricardo, ¿puedes poner el micrófono y... Ok.
Sí. Muchas gracias. Quiero hacer la pregunta en español, si me puedes ayudar, por favor.
Sí. Si no yo, sí.
Yo trabajo en la Universidad Central de Chile. Estamos con un proyecto en este momento para crear la infraestructura asociada al repositorio de datos científicos. Como una institución sin pertenecer a un nodo, ¿de qué manera podríamos pedir apoyo, ya sea un workshop o algún tipo de actividad con gente de Rda Alliance?
Okay. Walter, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so this is Ricardo from the Central University in Chile. And so his question is, without being a node in RDA, is it possible to organize an event, an activity together with RDA in order to get some assistance, to exchange some ideas on research data management?
Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to work with you. And I understand Spanish better than I speak it, but we can find people who actually, we can have both English speakers, Portuguese speakers, and all of that together. But yes, if you're interested in helping your university or an area to know more about RDA so that they can become interested, we would be happy to work with you on something like that.
Okay, so this is to follow up. Ricardo, siempre tienes el correo de Rebeca en el chat y también hay el correo de RDA general, si quieres escribirles y hablar del tema. Son las 4 en Roma, 05. Creo que ya hemos superado en 5 minutos la hora que teníamos prevista para esta sesión. Y yo creo que sería fantástico si un poco se continuara la pregunta que Yolanda había hecho, que me parece muy buena. Quizás sería conveniente en el caso de IGAD de crear un post de forma que la gente pudiera comentar, lo podríamos incluso hacer este post en español, explicando la razón del por qué se pone en español y bueno, esperando que podamos daros un poquito de información, Yolanda, que quizá pueda ser útil para mejorar o para apoyar el trabajo que está realizando RDA en la región. So, Yolanda, what we are going to do is to take your question and trying to bring this question to our community and try to get some feedback. Most probably we will have to play with the bilingualism on the mailing list of IGAD, which is also controversial because then the English speakers are not really happy, but we will try to do our best. Otherwise, I still put on the table this possibility to get a mailing list or something similar for Spanish, and not only for Spanish for those that have notes or whatever, but something that is Spanish for all RDA. And since it's a well-spoken language in RDA. If this is possible, just let us know. It would be, I'm happy to support it because I'm a Spanish speaker, but I'm pretty sure that there are other people like Irene, I look at her, that I'm pretty sure that there are other people that would also like to support this, because it will be a good opportunity to continue a little bit the dialogue, particularly for IGAD.
Yeah, let's we can have maybe an action item to follow up after the event and prioritize areas that we can work together on and open up the communication lines to make sure that translations are available as soon as possible for certain key documents, publications, things like that.
Translations,
yeah.
And to look as well a little bit what Patricia was mentioning, no? to get this first communication in Spanish. Lo estábamos comentando con Yolanda, es que quizá lo que sería interesante es continuar un poco este debate sobre qué tipo de acciones se podrían tomar para facilitar este intercambio de conocimiento a nivel de datos de investigación en español. Y definitivamente apoyar también a Patricia con el portugués, si hubiera la posibilidad. Pero la idea sería que pudierais intercambiar información en algún foro en el sitio web de RDA en español y hablar con personas que dominen la lengua. En cualquier caso, tenéis los correos y si queréis continuar este debate, me escribís o escribís a Wouter. Nosotros nos aseguraremos que se pueda continuar este intercambio. Esto simplemente para nosotros era un poco de test para ver un poco cómo se podría agilizar la entrada de una segunda lengua en IGAD y quizá también dar un poquito más de poder al español y al portugués en el contexto de RDA. Dicho esto, Wouter, do you want to close the session? Would you like?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And to the people from RDA who presented the activities of the organization, and the people who made some questions. There's a lot going on in Latin America and the Caribbean in terms of research data management, as is the case in North America and Europe and Asia, and I'm sure also Africa. So I think it's really a matter of connecting the dots there, and so let's hope that through this platform, this global platform, we can manage this, and I think this is an important step in this direction. So thank you so much for being there. Take care, and we'll be in touch then.
Thank you so, Yolanda, Rebecca, and Patricia, for your time. It was amazing. Very nice. Let's keep in touch. Para todos los demás, gracias por atender esta sesión. Se ha grabado, se está grabando aún. La pondremos a vuestra disposición en el caso de que quisierais retomar alguna parte del seminario. Y no dudéis en escribirnos si tenéis alguna cosa más que decir. Y el próximo evento va a ser la semana próxima, creo que es el martes, pero si podéis consultar la agenda y sobre todo recordaros de registraros para cada sesión, no tenemos un registro único. Muchísimas gracias a todos y hasta la próxima.
Muchas gracias.